I took my beloved Inspector radiation monitor, and this is basically one of the better ones. I'll turn it sideways so you can see it. Background radiation when we left Bozeman, Montana was 0.012. You can see it just changed to 0.008. When we were flying, once we hit 35,000 feet, the background radiation went up almost, realistically, if you'd even take a 12, it went up almost 25. At some points, it was 27 times. Now, reports are coming into me from all over the country and all over the world of extreme radiation rates, especially in the northern hemisphere. I've talked a lot over the years and been pretty much responsible for teaching people nuclear war preparedness. And so in dealing with the nuclear war preparedness, it becomes, obvious that people just have got to recognize that we're in a different time zone. Now, I don't mean time zone, but a different time frame than we've ever been in before. And because of that, people have also got to recognize that the tension is heating up. For instance, let's just go with North Korea. North Korea has gone to the extreme launching and testing of missiles and bragging about their intercontinental ballistic missile capabilities. I think they're up to 42 tests of both rockets and warheads. With the rise in nuclear radiation being measured all over the world, it becomes almost like a Sherlock Holmes undertaking to try and designate, guesstimate, or even look at the highest probability of who has set off a nuclear device. Now, let me make this clear. Nothing you have been told or will ever be told will ever be in a truth category at this point on if it comes from the mainstream media. So, well, I didn't see it on, any of the major networks, and even Fox didn't carry it. That doesn't work. Someone set off a weapon. It either had to be an intercept or an intentional above ground test. It had to be some form of maybe a signal being sent. And I'm just focusing on North Korea because, again, they're working overtime to build the delivery system. And they've also acquired the micro-miniaturization of warheads. And in the open black market, it's kind of like the old song, you can get anything that you want at Alice's restaurant. And if you have the money, you can buy anything. And I'm sorry, but that's the way it goes. Anything. How you take delivery of it and where you take delivery of it, those are problems. And obviously, when you're dealing with clandestine nuclear weapons or fissile materials, or you're dealing with this group of terrorists versus that group of terrorists, one group of terrorists has part A, the other group of terrorists has part B, and the release of the different triggers and the different technology to detonate those, it's way beyond a dirty bomb. A dirty bomb just means a conventional explosive that has radioactive material that disseminates the radioactive material through a standard explosion. We're talking about total real nuclear detonations. So what is fascinating to me is the fact that we're seeing this radiation. Now, we were gone for 3 days, and when we flew back, there was no change in the count. Radiation is measured in millisieverts, sievert millirems. Some people use the centigrade scale, and the knowledge of radiation is so primal now. It used to be a big deal. I can remember even 1962, 64 time period when we're being taught about, obviously, the potential for nuclear war, of understanding what a REM was. REM. It's not a band, okay? It is a Roentgen equivalent man. In other words, how much nuclear radiation is a person exposed to per kilogram or per pound of their body weight. Lethal doses of radiation exposure have been rising dramatically, meaning that they're trying to raise the bar or limit on the true dangers of radiation. One of the things that people don't understand, and this is why radiologists and others who work around nuclear materials usually have a dosimeter. Some people pronounce it dose meter, which is basically a miniature recording Geiger counter with a scale that shows the maximum exposure you received in a day. They then download those into computers and a chart is given, and there's a limit for those who work in the nuclear field that they can only have so much, even over the course of their career. So we're going to take a quick break here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Radiation dose units, it's interesting because there are three basic words that are used, and sometimes it's confusing, but for practical purposes, we're going to use just the three most prominent terms. Now, GY, the letter G as in Georgia, a Y as in yesterday, equals 100 rads. A milligray is 100 millirads. In other words, rad, sieverts, rem. It all means the same thing. And why that's important is people sometimes think that one doesn't translate into the other. But again, because of what we're talking about, there's no issue and we don't have to worry about that. Now, radiation, again, gamma radiation travels literally at the speed of light, 186,284 miles per hour. And to protect yourself from gamma radiation, which is the most deadly radiation, especially from a nuclear explosion, there are three things to remember. Time and distance. The further you are away from the detonation, the better. Shielding. That means that something has to be above you, on the sides of you, and beneath you to protect you from the cosmic ray penetration. It's the mass of the shielding material that does the blocking. The more shielding, the better. And usually they have a talk or a halving thickness. That's a term. Halving thickness simply means that the shielding is measured by a fraction of gamma rays that it blocks. If a certain thickness blocks half of the incoming radiation, then adding the same thickness again will block half of what's left. Radiation shielding materials are commonly categorized by their halving layer values. In other words, can they cut and half and half and half? So there's a wonderful little chart, and I'll give this kind of an example to you. For instance, in order to cut, and this is really important, to achieve a protection factor of 1,000, that simply means that you'll get 1,000 times less the radiation exposure, and that's just protection factor. You can call it a PF, protection factor 1,000. Material, for instance, lead. 4 inches of lead is equal to 10 inches of steel, which is equal to 24 inches of concrete. Packed dirt is 36 inches. Water is 72, and wood is 110. So basically, the idea is that the denser the material, the safer you are. There used to be a book put out by Gary North called Fighting Chance, and it was called 4 Feet to Survival. You can go on the internet and download for free Crescent Kearney, I believe it's Kerny, obviously Kearney's, apostrophe S, Nuclear War Survival Skills. It is free. Everything is a expedient fallout shelter. Everything tells you how to make an air pump. All this stuff is very, very inexpensive. And so I would encourage everybody to start thinking along this realm because things are escalating. Now, again, radiation is cumulative. I doubt anybody's going to carry this story. I've gotten emails from Norway. I've gotten emails from different parts of the United States. I've gotten emails from northern Canada. I've gotten emails from Azerbaijan, I think it is, or, a country over there. But everything that I get says this: we have our meters, and by the way, there are a lot of sharp people around the world. We have our meters set on a threshold, and we're watching a scaling going up. In other words, if the meter is usually reading like this for a baseline, a lot of them are saying they're starting to see this, kind of like a stair step up. The basis of that has to be ascertained.